This week on Rockstar Superhero. If you're like any normal human being, chances are if you've listened to Vexed, the UK-based deathcore band recently signed to Napalm Records, chances are you think you know what you're in for and what kind of people you're listening to. And if there's anything I have learned, it's that appearances and certain sounds are absolutely deceiving. Megan Targett, the singer of Vexed, is an intense person, but way more lover of people than initially appears. Sure, she's not going to let you judge her based on her femininity, and she's certainly not going to take kindly to your assumptions of her being a soft woman in a male-dominated space. Do not go there. Who Megan truly is behind the curtain belies every assumption you might make, simply because Vexed's magical musical elixir is a truth that speaks powerfully and one that hasn't been replicated yet, even if you foolishly think they're just another female-fronted metal act. The band's new album, Culling is releasing on May 21st, 2021. If the title doesn't speak volumes about who and what Vexed is, I don't think this interview or I can help you in any way. You'll just have to hear it for yourself. So, go buy the album, get out your headphones, and listen to the ferocity, loud and clear, and pay attention to Megan's lyrics because boy, does she mean business. This is my interview with the incredibly talented and surprisingly warm Megan Targett of Vexed on the Rockstar Superhero Podcast.
How many more times can I face this agony? Megan Targett from Vexed. This is so badass, man. I am so happy to have you on my show. You're one of those up-and-coming superstars to me. I've been listening to you for a bit now, and you have an extraordinary range. It's intensely powerful. I'm sure you get compared to a lot of people, and we can talk about that in a bit. But most of all, thanks for making it out today, Megan. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. It's my absolute pleasure.
Yeah. Well, let's just jump right in. In a room full of hardcore and deathcore contemporaries, what do you believe sets you and Vexed apart?
That we're not afraid to say it how it is, and we're also not afraid to crack out the Adidas tracksuits.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we are plain and simply what you see is what you get, and if you don't like it, you can F off, basically. And I mean that in the kindest possible way.
Yeah, that's so smart. I you don't know this, but I grew up in the business, and the one thing I spent my entire life failing at is always trying to please everyone. And what I love about what you said, Megan, is you're doing the opposite. You're creating your art, you're pleasing yourself, and then what happens is you, again, going even back to the name of your album, Culling Culture, right? Yeah. You are, in a sense, getting rid of those that aren't really into the Vexed sound and style, and it's just you now.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, I spent so many years in old bands and old lineups where I just let all the members control me and kind of make me this female fronted thing that they wanted. And so when we started Vexed, it was like, oh, I'm so done with just being this pawn in metal. I'm gonna be me. And so I put on the tracksuits, which is just what I wear every day, and we started saying what we wanted to say and writing what we wanted to write, and it's the most empowering thing. And what's more empowering about it is that when people don't like it, you're absolutely fine with it, because it's like, I don't mind you not liking me for who I am, because I have no problems with me. Whereas in those old bands, it was like, oh no, they don't like it, and I'm trying to be this sort of thing, and I'm trying to be perfect, and I can't ultimately be perfect because I'm not being myself. So yeah, it's quite liberating to be hated in something that you love. It's the weirdest thing, but yeah, and the support obviously outweighs that. But yeah, it's quite funny.
Yeah. Well, it seems you found your audience. I mean, you saying what you're saying and not wanting to be basically seen as the porn star out front, right? Because the problem with most metal of any style, of any sort of subgenre is, yes, women are placed out front as a toy for the boys' eyes.
Yes.
And I like that you're on equal footing with the band. Does the band feel that way?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. They are the best. They're my best friends, and they are 100% behind me on that one. And we've always said from the start, like, if there's something they don't like but I really like, we won't do it, and vice versa. They are completely equal with everything when it comes to writing, when it comes to press, anything. We all get an equal say, and if one person doesn't like it, we don't do it. So yeah, I can't stand the whole like fetishism behind the female fronted thing. It cringes me out. So yeah.
It's almost like if you don't dress right, or if you don't have enough tattoos, or if you have too many tattoos. In other words, the world is consumed by the same thing that Twitter is consumed by, which is the first words out of the mouth are some sort of judgment or condescension. It's never, wow, that's just fucking awesome. It's always, wow, that's fucking gross. Or she's a bitch. Or you know what I mean? Because strong women cannot be anything, and I'm not going to use the word, but strong women can't be, well, because they're labeled with the C word, and in America that's the worst word. We don't use that word.
I know. I've learned that the hard way, actually, because that word is so accessible in the UK. We just say it completely normally, so I will refrain from using that word. But it's totally right. It's totally right. And when people say I'm a bitch, I say no, I'm not a bitch. I'm the bitch. So
there it is.
You know, any woman in metal, you've just got to say that, you know. And that's it. Like, even if you are the most perfect front person, somebody's always going to hate you. Like, you can't do it right and you can't do it wrong, so you just have to do it the way that you want to, basically.
You have to cull culture.
Oh yeah, you do.
So there's a total stark production quality to the album, and specifically to the work I've heard so far. But what's really cool, and maybe you intended this or not, I don't know, but there's this really threatening piano in the back. And I know that sounds bizarre, but it's Misery. You know, I'm listening to that, and there's this sort of subtext, this thing that's happening behind the curtains. So one, what are you trying to accomplish musically? And two, what does Vexed music mean to you?
Oh, good questions. So to answer your first one, when we started writing as Vexed, we were like, right, there's no limitations. Don't get stuck in the you only have to write metal place. Because I know a lot of people, like metal gatekeepers, so to speak, it's like it has to be metal and nothing else. And it's like, well, that's not realistic, because we all love jamming out to like everything and anything, really. And if you only limit yourself to one style, you're right, you know, that you listen to, your writing is going to be stunted. So we were just like, if we like it, we're going to put it in. And like with the piano in Misery, that didn't go in until really sort of the end of the production sort of process. And our producer Merrick was like, this needs something else. And the whole concept of the song is about anxiety and that feeling of dread. And just the piano just brought that whole sense of dread and fear to it. And it worked really well. So, you know, if it works, put it in, kind of thing. And to answer your second question, Vex to me is just pure freedom. It is pure freedom. And yeah, I'm so grateful to have it.
Yeah. Well, you are a blessed woman, even if you don't like that word. So congratulations on the Napalm Records thing.
Thank you.
I mean, wow should be the phrase. I think that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Because it seems like, from an outsider, of course, they're always going to say, well, that's not fair. I mean, and when I mean outsider, I mean outsider musician, like other bands, your peers and whatnot. What did they do that maybe I'm not? But Napalm is a very specific record label. So how did you fit in? Were you chased after? Did you make the big ask? What happened?
So we got our management team. And they are just the best people on this earth. I speak to them every single day, and they're like the parents of the band. They're amazing. And when we gave them the album, they were like, right, we're going to send this to loads of labels and see if anybody bites. And we were dead in the water for a long time. Like, people just were not interested. And then, like everything, things just came in 3s and 4s and 5s, and we were suddenly presented with quite a few labels who were interested, but they all had their own opinions on how we should look or how we should sound or whatever. When Napalm kind of came forward and said, we're interested and we'd like to work with you, they were the only label that were like, we want you to be unapologetically yourself and not change a thing. And we're happy to just let you do your thing and provide a platform for it. And it was just like, hell yeah. Like, because I understand that they're a very traditional metal label, so we were a bit like, is this gonna work, when they like came to us, because obviously they have a lot of Viking metal or that sort of stuff on, and we were like, oh god, is it gonna work? But actually I think it's more about having the right people around you, and they just believe in us. So insane. I still can't comprehend it. It hasn't gone in yet, but very, very happy with Napalm.
Well, I'm envious for you. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's really it's wonderful, and it's deserved. Again, I mean, I'm not going to blow smoke, but there's this certain style and sound that I feel like there's a definite signature in there from what I've heard so far. And I haven't heard, the whole album. I've heard, bits and pieces, and I've listened to some older things. I've actually listened to your previous band, which I think is the same band, but with a new name. But I'm confused by that, and that's for another time. But all of that said, I think Napalm, and I hate to bring up the J word, but once Jinjer broke with Napalm, that flipped the switch for them to have the courage to continue to try, acts with, a different flavor than what they had previously done, because they are, I'm not saying they're like you, because they're not at all. But they too are not a Viking band or a sort of traditional power metal type band, from Sweden.
Yeah, definitely. And like any band with a female vocalist, you're going to get compared to Jinjer or Spiritbox. And at first, I'd never ever heard of Jinjer, and I felt so bad because everyone was like telling me, "Oh, you're just ripping off Jinjer, blah blah blah," and I was like, I don't even know who this band are. And thank you. I was like, I don't know who this band are, and I felt really guilty. So I went and checked them out, and I was like, one, fucking hell, they are amazing. But two, I don't understand because we're nothing like them. So it's kind of learning to ignore people that obviously clearly aren't intelligent enough to see past a pair of boobs. It's just simply that, really, isn't it?
Alyssa, poor Alyssa White, right?
Oh my god, I know. Like, what the hell?
She can't. I mean, look, I get it. She's very, and I'm sorry for interrupting you. She has chosen to sexualize herself significantly. I understand.
Yeah.
But that's her choice.
Yeah.
But what I love is that it's not you, and it's not Tatiana, and like you said, I can't remember her name, but the girl from Spiritbox. These are just women, and why are they all the same? If I'm singing in a band, nobody says, "Oh, you sound like Bruce Dickinson."
Yeah, I mean, I know, it's mad.
That's freaking weird.
Yeah, it is crazy, and I just have to tell myself every time I see comments like that, because they're the only ones I get a little bit annoyed about. I just have to tell myself, well, they're just stupid, and like. Sorry if that offends anybody, but you're just
No,
a
it's
bit of an
perfect.
idiot.
Yeah.
You know, because you wouldn't compare. I mean, somebody the other day, bless their heart, I don't mean it in a horrible way. They compared us to Nightwish. They were like, oh, then they're like Nightwish, but in Adidas. And I thought, I love Nightwish. They're so
Yeah.
cool, and like
Yeah.
they're an amazing band. But we're nothing like Nightwish.
No, not even. I mean, you're not even on the same planet.
No, completely different.
It's a completely different thing.
Yeah, there's places for both of us, obviously.
Yeah.
But we're worlds apart, and it just made me think. You know, those comments are people who cannot see past the front person. And like you said, that's not Tatiana's fault. That's not Courtney's fault. That's not Alyssa's fault. It's just their own ignorance. And if people are gonna be that ignorant, you know, I hope that they keep it respectful and just enjoy the music for what it is, but obviously they're just a bit blinded by the boobs. But if they are disrespectful, then I'm not interested in having them as a fan anyway. So it's
and that's perfect. I mean, Megan, that's exactly the way it is. It reminds me, I can't remember her name, but it reminds me of the girl from Kitty.
Right. I don't know her name either.
Yeah, but she just absolutely refused in any way to be taken as a woman, but to be seen as a human. Just me. I'm an artist. I'm a musician. And I think she even said that she spent a little bit of time in the first tour taping herself down. She did not want to be feminine in any way because of the judgment. And I'm sorry to stay on this, but it actually infuriates me.
It's important.
Yeah.
I'm pleased it infuriates you, because you have no idea how I don't know what the word is. It's really like amazing and makes me feel better seeing men get annoyed about it. Even more so than seeing women get annoyed about it, because women understand it. We live through this every single day. But when you see somebody who obviously doesn't identify as a woman get just as annoyed about it as we do, it makes you kind of feel like there's hope, kind of thing.
Well,
so I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's not just that's the music business, though. I mean, everything in the world is about marketing women's sexuality. And if you've ever noticed any commercial in the world, the women are marketed sexually and the men are marketed as though they're idiots.
Yeah, it's so
men are
weird.
always stupid in commercials, and women are always hot in commercials.
It's just the way it is.
It's madness. I don't know, man. I listen to you, even your scream, even your your melodic, your throat voice, your head voice. They all sound so different than anybody else out there. So I'm going to go to battle for you, and I'm going to be telling people all the time, because it really upsets me, and maybe it's the producer's ear in me. I don't know, but I'm listening to this stuff in the cracks. I'm not looking at the obvious product. You know? But so now here's a question. Because I'm the minority.
And
if you get angry about it, you're kind of be on your own. There's this weird fine line where you have to almost, I don't want to say sell yourself out, because I can imagine you're not going to do that, Megan.
No.
but you have to know that is kind of how it's seen. And how do you expect to overcome that? What are what's your plan to say, fuck that, I'm overcoming this, and I refuse to let that be what defines me?
Because I give people like yourself, I reply to people like you on Instagram. I give people who see me as a musician and not a sexualized thing, a platform. And the people that don't, I completely ignore. I do not give them a voice, because ultimately you want to fight back with those people that are just like, oh, well, she's just copying Jinjer, or oh, she's just copying Spiritbox. You want to be like, well, I'm not. But actually, the most powerful thing you can do is not talk to them at all, and actually respond to people that are saying, this is fantastic, thank you for introducing me to this band. And just, giving a voice to those who are bringing positivity, instead of acknowledging those negative things. and hope that over time they'll realize, well, it's not actually, nobody's biting, so I'm just gonna, stop. Ultimately, I do know it's always going to happen, but I'm never, I mean, I don't know, but when it comes to performing and music side of things, I'm not interested in sexualizing myself, because that's just not what I want to do. It's not because I don't like it. I'm a massive advocate for women who want to do that sort of thing. A lot of my favorite artists are rappers or grime, and they're all about, having the most amazing lingerie on stage. And I'm like, I'd love to be able to do that, but I don't have the confidence or the want to do it. So yeah, I think it's just about finding what each woman wants to do and unapologetically do it. And for me, I'm not interested at this moment in time to be sexualized. And if anybody tries to, I just stick my middle finger up at them. Really.
Well, I'm not trying to get you to swear. Obviously, it's allowed.
Good. I'll tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, there you go. See, I grew up in the church. I'm this good Christian boy who will swear like crazy, but I think I actually, you know what? I kind of sensed that. I know that's weird, but here's the thing. What I love about you, and I recognized it almost right off the bat. And then when you actually responded to something I had sent to you on Instagram, there was a genuine kindness to you. And what I've found over and over again is that it seems the people who are most grateful, the people that are most generous with their time, are people in the metal community who love what they do despite what anybody thinks, because most people don't understand metal. They dumb it down, and it's actually a highly intelligent music. It requires thoughtfulness. It requires musical skills like almost nobody has. And what I love, and this is going to blow you away, I think you're the meanest vocalist I've ever heard.
No, you can't say that.
I do. I know. I mean, mean. Like, there's real. I got I wish I could show you. I got goosebumps because everybody knows me. I get very excited about what I like, right?
Yeah.
And I'll give you total shit. Like, I will embarrass you right now if it's awful.
Yeah, good.
But there's something. Well, I mean, I'm a fan of music. It's burned into me. It's burned into you. And there is this ferocity that, I mean, sometimes when I talk to other artists, I'll use words like, oh, that's tough, or that's got a edgy sound to it. But there's something really angry and violent in how you perform it that belies the Megan I'm talking to.
Yeah.
How does that happen? How does that sneak out?
I think it's years and years of suppressed anger. I am like yourself. I was raised in a Christian family, and my faith is still something really important to me. I don't talk about it openly, but it's something that it is, and it's personal.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I know right from wrong, and I know that there are some ways that you should act and you shouldn't act. And I, like a lot of people, do really struggle with feelings of anger. It's something that I always struggled with as a kid, especially just not knowing what to do with anger. And that's where music came in. It was like, well, make it a positive thing. And so when I'm writing or performing, I finally let it all out. And it's so cathartic, and it's so it's just like the best therapy ever, because it's like all the people that have ever wronged me, it's like they're standing right in front of me, and it's the moment where the devil comes out, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay, so this is, I know the listeners right now are going to be like, what? Where are we going here? Are you open to answering one sort of churchy family growing up? Okay, because I'm always hesitant to ask about, sort of super personal things. And I didn't get a chance to ask you in advance, sort of do a pre-interview.
That's fine.
So I grew up in the church, and And for me, I spent my life as a musician expecting that God gave me this awesome gift as a drummer, and you don't know anything about it, but I was like, I'm destined for massive fame and success.
Yeah.
And when that didn't happen, no matter what I pursued, no matter how hard I pushed, no matter what bands what types of music, all the things, I was really, really upset. And I used to think that it was because, like this, my destiny, God was messing with me or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
And as soon as I accepted the fact that it's all on me, and that life is on me, that regardless of religion or how I was brought up, that like you, I choose to be a good person. I choose to acknowledge that sometimes I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
I love unconditionally, and that means I fuck up all the time.
Yeah.
I'm intensely passionate, and I imagine you're the same, or you couldn't possibly do the kind of music you do. How does that, growing up in that space, it's almost like religion is an industry. How do you carry the spiritual side of yourself? And there's nothing wrong with it. How do you carry the spiritual side of yourself out in the world? Because I've learned that, God just wants me to be a badass. Okay, fuck yeah, I'm going to go be a badass, because that's what I truly believe God wants me to be. Meaning I'm going to love you no matter what. So tell me your story.
It's been a journey. I've gone through periods of time like yourself, where I've been so angry at God, and I have just told him I'm not interested in following you anymore, and I've turned my back because of sort of certain things growing up, or like yourself, trying so hard to make it and nothing's happening, and you're just like, well, screw you then. And I've fallen out with him a lot, but it was that moment, but it was that moment of accepting his will, where you're like, okay, I'm not going to beg anymore, and I'm not going to be a victim anymore. I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to keep my head down, and if it's your will, then it'll happen. And that's when Vexed happened. And
isn't that badass?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so
and it's so nice to talk to somebody with faith, because I don't talk about it, because the metal world obviously is a world where Satan is it's funny, and we all go along with it, but also I totally believe that it is personal, and nobody should force it upon anybody else. But as you will know better than anyone, trying to say or do anything or start a conversation about it, or if people ask you about it in the metal world, it can be really uncomfortable, because you're surrounded by people who just laugh at you for it. So I've found the best thing to do is to keep it to myself, lead by example. If people ask, I talk about it, and if they don't, I keep it to myself, and at some point they'll find out about it. But yeah, like yourself, I've definitely gone through phases of being like fallen in and out of friendship with him. But now I think when you completely become vulnerable and just accept that, like the way you said it was, whether or not you believe in a God or not, all you can do is believe in yourself. That's the most important thing. And I say to all my friends and family, I don't know actually anybody else who is religious apart from my mum and granddad. All my friends are atheists or agnostic, and I say to them, you don't need to believe in God, you just need to believe in yourself. That's all that matters. And there's quite a lot of there's one song on the album that's about that. I'll try and send it to you after this, but it's called Purity, and it's about when I just rejected him completely because of certain things. And I say at the end, be your own salvation, be your own savior, be the change that you so desperately pray for. And it's kind of my way of saying to those people, if you don't believe in God, that's fine. You don't need to push it on anybody else, but just believe in yourself. And I think that's important.
I think believers try to put it all on everybody else, and of course what happens is anybody outside of it sees that, and their negative response is going back to the whole Twitter thing is this is the craziness. No wonder these people all get sick and die, whatever it is that they think we do, you know. But yeah, no, I found the same thing. Just be you. Jump into what you really love and believe in, and guess what? And I do believe in a God too, right? But I mean, if there is a God, he'll course correct me. And that to me is what's important, just to live a life of as sort of ethical and moral as I can, and be the best. And sometimes I'm going to blow it. And and if you give me shit about it, then you're not my friend anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I say to my atheist friends all the time, you make more sense than most people who believe in a God. You know, they have a very, very good argument, and we have great conversations, far better than somebody who's completely you know, far gone with their religion. So you know, it's one of those things where it's lovely to talk to somebody about it, but I would never talk at somebody about it, if that makes sense.
Right on. I totally get it. Well, your production and promotions company would be very upset with me if we didn't talk about the new record, Culling Culture. So, well, let's talk about that. What does the title mean, and what does it mean to you?
So the title is like almost like a play on words for the cancel culture. That was kind of kicking off when we were trying to come up with a name. And because each song on the album is about a person who I've gotten rid of out of my life, and culled off, so to speak, we were kind of like, well, we're culling off all these people through our songs, and you know, the world is so obsessed with cancelling everybody at the moment, when you should really just be focusing on your inner circle, and getting rid of people who, even if they're really close to you or a family member, if they do nothing but bring you toxicity, then get rid of them. And that's, you know, the message of the whole album, individually on the track, is all these people I got rid of and I culled them off. And it's our culling culture, basically.
Wow. So do you write all the lyrics for the band, and are they okay with that?
Yes, I do. Yeah, and they're perfectly fine with it. Yeah. There's a few more songs we're writing at the moment for album 2. I won't say too much about album 2 because we're trying to promote album 1.
Of course.
But the boys do like to have a couple of things here and there, and if I can put them in, I will. But I, for Culling Culture, wrote all the lyrics, and it's been good fun. There's a lot of lyrics on that album.
Has Napalm put a lot of weight on you in that, you know, let's see how successful this is? You know, I mean, are you doing tons of promo? What's the feeling on this rollout?
They've just been nothing but lovely, to be honest. They haven't said, you know, if you don't reach this many sales or views, we're not going to support you. They've just been like, we believe in it, and we know people are going to listen. So let's just roll it out. And I don't know any of the numbers or anything. I would like to know them, but I don't know them. So it's just a case of, I want to talk to everybody and anybody who's interested and likes it, because it's so weird. I'm just sat in my room at home and can't actually get out to shows and see that people actually do like it. So being able to talk to you is just so nice, because it kind of validates that we're doing something right. But it's just I'll take any opportunity to talk to somebody like yourself.
Oh yeah. Well, I love it. Did the coronavirus? I mean, I know people have asked this question, but I'm going to ask it too.
No, go for it.
What was the moment that you said, "Oh wow, the coronavirus is actually forcing creativity"? Because a lot of people see it as a negative, and I mean, in the first month, I mean, none of us knew what was going on, right? We all thought maybe this is the end of the series. It was really crazy. And then, you know, it kind of drifted away fairly quickly. But a lot of people, of course, are still afraid, stay at home. And I understand all sides. I get it.
Yeah.
But what I've seen is it's forced massive creativity from artists. It only seems like artistic people are doing stuff, but we're all doing tons of stuff right now. How did it affect you?
Well, we'd actually written the album before the pandemic hit. So we've been sat on it for a while. And then when it hit, they were like, right, we're not going to release it. You're going to have to wait. So we were actually really stunted to start with. We kind of we'd built up all this momentum. We were like, it's going to come out and we're going to go on tour with Whitechapel and everything's going to be great. And then it was like, nope, you can't do any of it. So we definitely sat and were miserable for quite a while. But when we kind of got some dates of when it was going to happen, and our management team are lovely, they check in with us all the time, and we were just like, right, okay, let's start being productive. And it's like the only thing we could do in the UK was focus on our music videos, because we weren't allowed to meet up and do certain things, but we could get approval for doing music videos. So that was like our way of being able to be really creative, and we kind of have thrown everything into our music videos, and it's been so much fun. And we've just been able to start writing recently, so that's been really nice as well. And we've definitely got a hell of a lot to say, so I can't wait to be able to record that. It'll be good fun.
Yeah, well, it makes sense that you're working on your second album so quickly then, because it's actually not quickly, right?
No.
This has been in the bag for a while.
Yes, yeah, it has.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've grown a lot since Culling Culture, but obviously people are only seeing it now. So for us, it's a bit of a time warp, really, because we're like, oh, you're seeing baby us, you're seeing us at the start. We feel like we've got a lot more to say now. So even though we're insanely proud of Culling Culture and I love it so much, I'm desperate to do the next thing. So
yeah. No, that makes sense. I've never actually been to the UK. I've been all around it. It's insane. I've been to Iceland and I've been all over the place.
Oh, cool.
But I've never been there. When it comes to musicians or art in general, places like Scandinavia actually have social programs that help musicians. You know, they sort of fund rehearsal spaces and recordings and all this stuff. Do you get anything like that in the UK?
Not really. No, it's a real shame. I mean, that you can apply for grants and stuff, and we have done that, but unfortunately we've been rejected every time. It's really difficult for like heavy musicians in the UK to be taken seriously. I think people almost see us as a bit of a, unless you're Iron Maiden, you're not taken seriously.
Right, you have to be Atomic Kitten.
Yes, yeah, you do, or Girls Aloud or something like that. So yeah, it's been pretty rough, because obviously we self-fund everything, and at the start of the pandemic, most of us lost our jobs, so it's been pretty rough. But Napalm amazingly helped us out a little bit, and then it is difficult because rehearsal space is closed. We don't have anywhere that we can just do it ourselves.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a bit crap, but things are starting to open up again over here, so it's looking a bit brighter.
That's good. Because you said I have a little extra time,
Yes.
let me tell you a little bit about my show, because it's a little different. My show is all about the construction of what I call the rock star superhero, right?
Okay.
It's the superhero journey, right? What happens to Spider-Man? He grows up in a family. He gets bit by a spider. He goes through a massive change. He starts saving people. Some bad things happen. And then he finally sort of accepts who he is, right?
Yeah.
That same process applies to every artist I know. Can you give me a little bit of origin story? I mean, are you open to sharing what it was like to grow up as little Megan Targett?
Yeah, of course. So I was raised by a single mum, and I have 3 other siblings, so it was a single mum and the 4 of us, and we had it pretty rough, quite poor, and there would be 1 or 2 nights where we would go without dinner. But we were very lucky and blessed to have incredibly supportive grandparents who helped us out whenever we needed. And my mum had an identical twin, so although I never knew my father growing up, I had 2 mums and a grandpa, and they were like all I ever needed. But unfortunately, when I was 10, my mum's identical twin passed away, so it was like I lost a mum, and it sent me into this really awful depression and spiral. And I ended up being homeschooled for a couple of years because I was too depressed and couldn't make friends. And during that time, my mum dated a couple of guys, unfortunately, who were incredibly abusive, physically, sexually, verbally. And I just spun out of control into this teenager who was just full of self-loathing, and I developed an eating disorder, and everything was just awful. And I was so unhappy and miserable. And then I eventually got put into this school for kids who had been bullied. And I met a lad there who loved Bring Me the Horizon. And he was playing Chelsea Smile in one of the classrooms.
Wow.
And I was like, what the hell is this? And he was like, oh, it's Bring Me the Horizon. You should listen to him. And it was that moment where I booked my first ticket to go see Bring Me, and I stood in the crowd and I looked at Ollie Sykes screaming Chelsea Smile, and I was like, that's what I want to do. And we got rid of all the abusive blokes, and I got over my eating disorder, and we found a lot of strength again in our family. And music was the thing that saved me, and it's always been the thing that saved me. And yeah, it was a pretty rough start, but if it hadn't have been for Bring Me the Horizon and heavy metal, yeah, things could have been quite different. So thank God for that little lad in the school.
Yeah. Isn't that funny that the things we think, I mean, you're not a parent, but the things we think as parents our children would never survive or overcome, right? Or the outsider who would say, like, what God is that would let this happen to you? All those silly little things.
Yeah.
But here you're proof that withstanding, and I use this word a lot, but withstanding is everything. It's everything in a marriage. It's everything in a friendship, and especially in a band, because anybody who's listening who's a musician knows when you're in a band, you're married to every one of those people in the band. You're just not sleeping with them, which makes you twice as frustrated and twice as stressed, because you have to kowtow, you have to accommodate, and you know what I mean, their thoughts and their ideas, or else shit's gonna hit the fan, things are gonna fall apart, and you don't want to rock that boat too much. I completely understand, but congratulations to you for being a badass that only became more badassery, if that's I don't know, freaking making up a word.
No, thank you. And you're totally right. And I think that was the mistake that I made in the past, was that I would be in bands with people who just wanted to be in bands, but weren't actually willing to commit to what that really means. And I'd let them control me. And it was just ridiculous. It was just an awful relationship. Whereas with Vex, I am actually in a relationship with the drummer. We've been together for 5 years, and we live together, and
awesome.
We're best friends, and he's brilliant. And Jay and Al are my best friends, and they're his best friends, and we're just like this. You couldn't get closer. It's actually like it's worrying how close we are. Like we'll be in the tour van, and somebody will fart, and I know whose fart it is just by the smell.
Oh, the beauty of touring life. Oh, that's so wonderful. And I hope I didn't like accidentally prod the relationship thing, because that wasn't the intention, to like find out if something was going on.
No, of course. It's actually quite nice to talk about it, because like the religion thing, we don't really talk about it unless it's mentioned. We've been together 5 years, and very, very happy.
Wow. So, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna let you off light.
Yes.
I have a fun little questionnaire that I started doing recently, so I hope that's okay. That has nothing. It's just some personal, cute little questions. Okay, so 5 little questions, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
1, and you can answer it however you want, short or long. What do you wish you knew back then?
Nobody else's opinion of you actually matters. It's not fact, and so don't let it change your opinion of yourself, and don't let it make you decide or make decisions based on other people's opinions. It doesn't mean shit.
That's correct. That's wonderful. Yes. Okay. Number 2. What would you take back?
Letting, when we first started Vexed, I got a huge amount of hate, like for the Elite song. I got death threats, I got everything.
Oh my God.
And I let it get to me big time, and I didn't want to be in a band anymore. So I would take back, like I said for the first answer, caring about what those people thought, because now I'm free of it, and the boys have taught me how not to care, and it's the most liberating thing ever. But back then I did. So I would take back, that I wish I didn't care at that point.
Well, I'm glad you do, though, because I'm talking to an awesome person, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3. What skill or sport do you wish you had learned?
Oh my God. So much. I wish I'd learned how to dance properly. I follow so many Instagram dancers, and they look so cool. And then when I try and dance, I just look so painfully white. It's just awful. So I wish I knew how to dance. That would be pretty.
You're doing the Brady Bunch 70s dance.
Yeah, doing the Running Man and all this. Yeah. Yeah.
The Running Man. Oh my God. Yes. Oh my God, Megan, you're fantastic. Okay, number 4. When do you feel most like a child again?
When do I most feel like a child? When I sat with my granddad having a cup of tea, and he's talking to me about the war and all his stories that he's told me 100 times, but he's forgotten he's told me. That is one of my favorite things to do, and it just takes me back to my childhood, and that's when I feel like a child.
Good. Wow. Cherish that. Don't ever let that go. That is beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last dark question.
Go on.
What does death mean to you?
I'm not afraid of death in any way. And death to me is the start of an even bigger journey that we can't comprehend. And so death to me is nothing to be scared of. It's actually an end of all the pain and shit that we have to face on Earth, and the beginning of not having to deal with that anymore, surrounded by light and goodness. So it's obviously scary, but I'm not scared of it. I look forward to that part of our existence. But it can wait for a bit. I've got some shouting to do first.
Yeah. I have a feeling, I talk about this all the time. I have a feeling that we're going to close our eyes, and then we're going to open our eyes, and we're going to go, oh.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like there's just no way to explain, and we'll never have seen any of it coming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Our imagination's just not as big as, you know what I mean? And that's really exciting to me.
Yeah. I can't wait to have, because like my mum said to me the other day, she was like, there's going to be colors that you didn't even know existed. And like, I spent hours being like, think of a color that isn't in the spectrum. Think of a new color. Obviously you can't do it. Ridiculous. But it's an example of not being able to actually comprehend at all what's next. And that's exciting. Yeah.
Man, Megan, I've had such a good time. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love this. Megan Targett from Vexed, the new album Culling Culture. Real quick, tell us where we can get the album, and tell us why we should.
So you can get the album, if you go to vexvex.com, you can either pre-order it through Napalm, or if you're in the UK or Europe, you can pre-order it through Impericon, sorry, say it properly. You should buy the album because it's a little bit of escapism for 30 to 40 minutes, and if you don't, I'll tell you to fuck off. No, I'm joking. I won't.
Trust Jesus. No, fuck off.